Welcome back to Unlimited Reads. My name is Chris and thanks for joining me as I bring to you my spoiler-free review of Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, the first of his 4 secret projects. It was an amazing read. The cosmic connections within were fantastic and Sanderson continues to impress me with how good he is at creating strong female characters. Now, added to this, the obvious influence from the classic film The Princess Bride was very, very cool. I really enjoyed how this story was told from 2 viewpoints. You have the first person viewpoint from Hoyd's point of view as he is narrating the events of the book, and then you also have Tress herself where the viewpoint is in the 3rd person. And I think it was a very, very good format for the book because it actually broke things up and made things a little bit more engaging. The only life Tress has known on her island home in an emerald green ocean has been a simple one, with the simple pleasures of collecting cups brought by sailors from faraway lands and listening to stories told by her friend Charlie. But when his father takes him on a voyage to find a bride and disaster strikes, Tress must stow away on a ship and seek the sorceress of the deadly midnight sea. Amid the spore oceans where pirates abound, can Tress leave her simple life behind and make her own place sailing a sea where a single drop of water can mean instant death? Yeah, look, I knew this book was going to be great even before I cracked open the first page because watching BookTube, it has had nothing but favourable reviews and is highly regarded amongst the BookTube community, and it drew me in immediately when I started it, and I knew I was going to enjoy it, particularly since it was going to be told, some of the story was going to be told from Hoyd's point of view, which Hoyd has become one of my favourite characters in the entire Cosmere, and I can never get sick of reading about him, and his presence in this book is absolutely fantastic. And even in other Cosmere books, when he does show up very briefly, I always find myself smiling while I read it because I just enjoy his character a lot. And yeah, that set the tone for my enjoyment of the book from the very beginning. Yeah, look, the pacing was very good, especially since it had fairly short chapters. Now, I've said it before in relation to the thriller genre that short chapters are a key ingredient for really good pacing, especially if those short chapters end on a cliffhanger and you're changing viewpoints as well, which I mentioned a bit earlier, because it does move the story along at a cracking pace, and the whole thing was very enticing anyway, so you just had to keep turning those pages, and I ended up reading this very, very quickly, which is a testament to how good the pacing was here. Alright, let's start with Tress herself. Now, I really enjoyed her character arc across the book. When we first meet her for the first... No. This is the final take. 3, 2, 1. Let's start with Tress herself. Now, I really enjoyed her character arc across the book. When we meet her for the first time, she is living on this small island and leads a very simple life, and she is content enough to hear the stories of sailors from faraway lands and to collect her cups. She has no real inclination or goal to leave the island, but it's not until Charlie, her first love, gets taken by this evil sorceress across the midnight sea, where she fully awakens something within herself, and it ignites her motivation to go after her first love and rescue him. And it's an admirable trait, and I really enjoyed across the book how she calls upon hidden strengths which have laid dormant within her, and she calls upon these strengths and talents to prevail in the end. It's such a satisfying story arc for a character, and I love how Brandon Sanderson does this to his characters. She evolves fantastically across the book, and until the very end where she changes and has this assertiveness about herself now, and how people respect her, where before she was seemingly unassuming and was virtually invisible and kept to herself. So it's a very, very satisfying arc for the main character of the book. Next up, we have Hoyd, and he is fantastic. This is the longest appearance we've had from him in a Cosmere book, and I was happy to spend some time with him because across all the characters within the Cosmere, he is in my top 4. I just love reading about him. I love it when he turns up in cameo roles across Cosmere books, and I smile whenever he is delivering monologue or telling a story, because the language he uses is so eloquent. He has a benevolent presence to the characters, and his story, how it evolves in this book, is very, very enticing and engaging, and he's just a treat to read about. And we have Huck the Rat. He was a treat to read about. He was a lot of fun. I really like how his little character arc evolved over the book. Now, people who have read the book know what I'm talking about here on what happens with Huck, and I found that absolutely brilliant, and how he helps Tress spy on Crow, the captain of the Crow song, and he was a nice little addition to the story, and he has a key role to play, but that's all I'm saying because I'm not spoiling anything here. Oh, where do I start with this? The world building was incredible on so many levels. There are 12 moons on Lumar. They remain in a geostationary orbit, and they rain invested particles taken from the cognitive realm in the form of spores. And they fall into this environment. They create a viscous, oceanic kind of environment. It's not like water, and these spores, there's different types of spores which have different attributes. Some are deadly, some not quite so, but these aether spores can be repelled by salt and silver, which is remarkable. And it's a really cool magic system, and it intricately explores how metal reacts with these spores, which is reminiscent of the Mistborn series, and it's a magic system that it's hard to get your head around, but it's fascinating at the same time, and just how he comes up with this stuff absolutely amazes me. But the world was very rich, and there were a lot of Cosmi references within this world, which was absolutely brilliant as well. Yeah, look, this book had a very polished style that elevates Sanderson's skills to a whole new level here. There's a special eloquence to it, especially during Hoyd's recollections of the events in the story. And to show you how much I enjoyed that, I have taken out a passage which I want to share with you. And this is where Hoyd is talking about memory. And just listen to this. It's absolutely brilliant. I love memories. They are our ballads, our personal foundation myths, but I must acknowledge that memory can be cruel if left unchallenged. Memory is often our only connection to who we used to be. Memories are fossils, the bones left by dead versions of ourselves. More potently, our minds are a hungry audience craving only the peaks and valleys of experience. The bland erodes, leaving behind the distinctive bits to be remembered again and again. Painful or passionate, surreal or sublime, we cherish those little rocks of peak experience, polishing them with the ever-smoothing touch of recycled proxy living. In so doing, like pagans praying to a sculpted mud figure, we make of our memories the gods which judge our current lives. I love this. Memory may not be the heart of what makes us human, but it's at least a vital organ. Nevertheless, we must take care not to let the bliss of the present fade when compared to supposedly better days. We're happy, sure, but were we more happy then? If we let it, memory can make shadows of the now, as nothing can match the buttressed legends of our past. How sensational is that? It's very simple language. There's no big words used. The meanings are very, very simple, but very deep at the same time, and this kind of writing, especially from Hoyd's point of view, is very spellbinding and is one of the best qualities of the book. Obviously the Sanderlanche, which by now everyone comes to expect, and the payoff as usual is huge and intensely satisfying, and the big twisty reveal at the end was absolutely unbelievable. The complex relationship between Tress and the pirate was engaging. I drew some parallels from The Way of Kings, where Kaladin was trying to get the respect of his Bridge 4 crew through his actions, and I saw a similar thing here with how Tress displayed her talents and her tenacity and her strength in order to turn the crew around, and by the end they were willing to lay down their lives for her. And I just love that, how a character can do that and influence people in that way. I especially loved the Tress and Crow interaction there, and how that gets resolved in the end. I can't say any more apart from that because it will be spoiling anything, but trust me when I say, and people who have read the book will agree, that that was very, very clever and very satisfying. The Cosmere references, they are everywhere. I can't spoil anything here, but look, there are quite a few things referenced from the Cosmere books. This one tends to be set far into the future. Rin, the sorceress, is from somewhere familiar. Hoyd mentions who he lent his flute to and has never gotten it back. There is a familiar race from Scadrial, and the Awakening, the power of Awakening, is mentioned as well. So the Cosmere references, there are heaps of them that I haven't even mentioned here, and it's just fun to find out about them, and very, very satisfying, because as you get into the later books within the Cosmere connections and references are becoming more and more obvious as we slowly get to the closing arc of the Stormlight Archive, which is released in December. So I'm really, really enjoying that part of the books where all these connections are making sense and coming to a head. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not going to waste a place card here for any negatives because there are none. Could not fault this book. I've got nothing bad to say about it, so it's a very short answer to that question. Look, it was a charming, engaging read. There were high stakes. There was seafaring adventure with a love story at its centre. It was very satisfying. The ending to Tress's character arc was great, simply incredible. The language was spellbinding and just drew you in, and it would make a cosy read curled up under the blankets on a rainy day, so you can lose yourself in Sanderson's prose. And if you've been putting off reading this and you've read quite a few Cosmere books, you need to drop everything and put this to the top of your TBR straight away. Now, my next Cosmere read is most likely going to be The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Survival in Medieval England, and then with Yumi and The Sunlit Man. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to read those before Rhythm of War or not. I do have to do a bit of homework about the reading order to see where they sit in the scheme of things, but Rhythm of War isn't being done until November, so that I can be up to date ready for Book 5 of the Stormlight Archive, which is Wind and Truth. Now, I've set aside most of the month of December to just lose myself and immerse myself back to Roshar, and really looking forward to closing off and finishing the Cosmere at the end of the year, and I'm anxious and excited at the same time to see how Sanderson finishes off the first arc in the Stormlight Archive. But it is very, very exciting times ahead, and I think in December, BookTube, the community in general, is going to lose its shit, because it's going to be an exciting time, because you're going to have people sharing their thoughts while they're reading the book. There's going to be a lot of content out there. I don't know any BookTube content creator that isn't excited and anticipating the book. So there you go. But guys, that is it for my spoiler-free review of Test of the Emerald Sea. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, guys, happy reading.